Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into the key ideas from Patrick King's Read People Like a Book, which is all about understanding the people around you on a much deeper level.
So the book kicks off with this really bold claim. Mind reading is real. Now, before your mind jumps to crystal balls and psychic hotlines, that is not what he's talking about.
So yeah, forget the supernatural stuff. The whole point is that this is a skill, something you can actually learn and get better at. It's a tool that can sharpen your interactions at work, it can deepen your personal relationships, and it can even give you a better sense of when someone's being deceptive. It's really about learning to see what's going on just beneath the surface.
Okay, so where do we even start? Well, before we can even think about reading anyone, we first have to learn how to really see them. And, that means we've got to start by looking at our own biases.
The biggest thing getting in our way? It's our own brain. We fall into all these little traps, like perceptual bias, where we only remember the times our guesses about people were right. We might label a neighbor as rude just because they were quiet one morning, completely ignoring all the other times they've been friendly or the dozen other reasons they might have been quiet that day.
And this is huge. A single cue, on its own, means almost nothing. You have to have context. Think about sweaty palms. It's so easy to jump to, oh, they must be lying. But what if the room is just boiling hot? Or what if they're nervous about a presentation later? Or maybe they're just getting over a cold? You see, without the bigger picture, that one observation is totally useless.
Okay, so if context is king, where do you actually begin? How do you do this in the real world? Well, the book gives us a really simple, practical first step you can start doing like today.
Your first task is to establish a baseline. So pick someone you see all the time. A coworker, a friend, a family member, and for the next couple of days, just watch. Pay attention to how they normally act. What's their usual posture? How do they normally greet people? What does their voice typically sound like? Once you know someone's normal, any change from that baseline is going to stick out like a sore thumb, signaling that something's different for them. All right, so we know how to observe. Now let's get into the really cool part, understanding the hidden drivers, the why behind what people do. This is where it gets super fascinating.
King gives us these three lenses, basically three big ideas from psychology that you can use to figure out what's really driving someone. These aren't just abstract theories. They're like different pairs of glasses you can put on to see people more clearly.
First up, we've got this idea from Carl Jung called the shadow. Now, what is that? Well, think of it as all the parts of ourselves that we don't like, or that we try to hide, our insecurities, our jealousy, our anger. We try to push them down, but they don't just disappear. They find a way to come out.
And here's a perfect example. You know that colleague who's always bragging, always name-dropping? Through this lens, that's not real confidence. It's their shadow at work. That bragging is just a cover for a deep, hidden insecurity about their own value. The louder they are on the outside, the smaller they might feel on the inside.
Okay, lens number 2 is super straightforward. It's the pleasure/pain principle. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Deep down, everything we do is an attempt to either get something good or to get away from something bad. And you can see how this helps build empathy, right? For instance, when your partner skips doing the dishes, it's really easy to take it personally, to think they're trying to annoy you. But with this lens, you can see it differently. They're not trying to cause you pain. They're trying to avoid the discomfort of a boring chore after a super long day.
And the third lens? It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've probably seen this pyramid before. The idea is simple. Our actions are driven by our most pressing need at any given moment, starting from the very bottom, like food and safety, and working our way up. So that micromanaging boss you might have, it's easy to think it's all about them wanting control over you. But what if they're just stuck on that safety level of the pyramid? What if they're acting that way because they're deeply insecure about their own job? Understanding their need can completely reframe their behavior for you.
All right, so we've dug into the internal why. Now let's look at the external what. All those little signals people send out a lot of the time without even knowing they're doing it.
When you're looking at someone's face, the book says to watch for two types of expressions. You've got your macro expressions. Those are the obvious, deliberate ones. A classic fake smile, right? The one that's all mouth and doesn't reach the eyes. But then there are micro expressions. These are tiny, involuntary flashes of real emotion that leak out for just a split second. And that's where the truth usually is.
And get this. There are 6 universal emotions that pop up as these microexpressions, no matter where you are in the world. Sadness, happiness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust.
They can give away how someone truly feels even if they're trying really hard to put on a brave face.
But it's not just about the face, right? The rest of the body is telling a story too. The book brings up work from former FBI agent Joe Navarro, who says our bodies, especially our hands and feet, are incredibly honest. Rubbing your forehead might signal stress, and if someone's feet are pointed at the door, well, their brain might already be halfway out of the conversation.
Okay, time to put it all together. Let's become Sherlock for a minute and use these skills to tackle a really interesting puzzle, figuring out when someone might not be telling the truth.
Here's the key thing you have to remember. Lying is hard work. It takes a ton of mental energy to make up a story and keep all the details straight. So your job isn't to be an interrogator. It's just to make their brain work a little harder. Ask them unexpected questions. Change the subject, then circle back. You're looking for those little cracks, the inconsistencies between what they're saying and what their body is doing.
So we've gone through all these techniques: observation, motives, lie detection. But what's the real goal here? What are we actually trying to do with all this? So let's recap the toolkit you walk away with. First, you figure out someone's baseline, what's normal for them. Then you look for any breaks in that pattern. You gather as much info as you can, and you always remember to consider the context. Oh, and trust your gut for sure, but then look for the evidence to back it up. The real skill isn't about spotting one little tell, it's about seeing the whole person.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important idea in the entire book. The goal here isn't to become some kind of human lie detector or to get one up on people. It's about using these skills to understand them more deeply, to build real empathy, and to create stronger, more honest relationships. It's about connection.